Welcome, everybody, to episode number 9 of How to Become a Sales Warrior podcast. I am Eddie Podge, your host, and this is my co-host, Ty White.
How you doing, everybody?
We are here to educate a new generation of salesmen and women through the reading of my book and 20 years of my sales history. We're going to dive into chapters and see what we can do to help the new generation maybe not take as long as it did myself to get to the top of the sales charts.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this week I'm coming in a little exhausted. We had a great weekend of sales. My body feels it, man, but I'm excited about today's episode because we've been getting a lot of good feedback on everything that we've been releasing. And just again, like I said last week, I want to give out all the thank yous for all the love we've been getting for these past couple episodes.
Thanks for saying that. So this week we're going to dive into chapter 14. It's called On the Road Again. It's almost a pet peeve of mine, this chapter, because when I'm networking and I'm meeting people, if I hear the word COVID one more time, pre-COVID, after COVID, COVID, I'm just like tired of the excuses that we're using COVID as a reason to still not be back on the road again.
Well, to me, that's just an excuse because at the same time, COVID birthed a lot of new businesses too, like during it. My business was doing fine during COVID. That's the one thing everyone's always like, oh, COVID took me out. I mean, I'm in my space moving, junk removal, doing things like that. Most of it was a lot of office clean outs, a lot of Manhattan people shutting down. All the businesses were going remote. So I was getting from Eastern Long Island to Manhattan in like 25, 30 minutes because there were no cars on the road. But there was a lot of work. There was a lot of work all through COVID. I mean,
so for pods, I had to pivot because there was no little leagues, there was no soccer leagues, there was no all these different leagues that I normally do business with, and come into the springtime because it was March, and I had to think, I had to look ahead to see what do I got to do to get ahead of this, and the only thing I kept thinking was they're shutting down the classrooms. They're taking the classrooms from 32 seats to 16 seats. Boom, school districts.
Yeah.
And I pivoted towards school districts, and I literally sold out of containers in 16 different markets that I work in, just by that pivot.
Yeah.
But the point of talking about on the road again is people are still in their shell. They're still trying to do everything from home. They're still trying to, if they don't hit their sales goals, the word COVID. Well,
looking
before
for something
COVID.
to lean on, yeah.
But it's enough already. It's 3 years ago already.
Yeah.
It's time to move on.
We've been places where I've heard people personally tell you that, and then you walk away. You're like, I don't want to. If I hear another person say anything about COVID, it's been a while now. Though.
It's too long.
Time's flying, but it's been.
If you're still being affected by COVID, then you're not in the right industry for what you sell.
Yeah.
You need to be in an industry that it's not that it's COVID proof, it's change proof. You have to change into a market that is in need. If your market is not there anymore, I had a great friend of mine that was a ticket broker. His business evaporated.
Yeah.
An entire year went by. There was no live shows or anything.
Nothing. Yeah.
He wrote it out. He's still in business today. Made a small comeback, but he was hurt. I do remember though, because everything shut down, his lease in Brooklyn was up. Mm-hmm. He decided to move to the foothills of the North Carolina Blue Ridge Mountains and took an Airbnb for 3 months.
Just got away.
And it just got away.
Yeah.
Because there was no work. There was nothing they could do. His wife was
Well, there's certain
jobs.
things where it like directly affects you in that way. Ticket sales and stuff like that. There's not really too many ways to pivot from that. But I guess my pivot was doing all of those office clean outs instead of worrying about the residential at the time. When there was a lot of residential still going on with clean outs, but the office clean outs, we were making money hand over fist because everyone was going. The whole 34th Street went remote at one time. We were just going office to office cleaning everybody out.
So today's action statement from the book is get back on the road. Yeah. Stop using the past as a reason to not be a sales warrior. A sales warrior is on the road. He's not sitting in front of a computer 4 days a week. He's out shaking hands and going to events and meeting new people. Mm-hmm. And if you aren't finding the right connections, find the new path. Direct yourself to a new path. Yeah. Don't just keep doing the same thing that isn't working. If it's not working, change.
Yeah, that's what I did. Meeting you, I went from solely promoting junk removal and cleaning to putting this moving stuff in, where sometimes the seasons may get a little slow with junk removal. Obviously now everyone's cleaning up, it's getting nice out, but in the wintertime, people are still moving, and once I, came in and started to master that, I'm like, all right, now I have a formula to keep myself busy all year.
Well, that's
You
the
know?
key, that's the key to success, is to be able to keep turning.
Yeah.
Keep turning.
Yeah.
What else is working?
What else?
is
Yeah.
working?
Yep.
What else is working? Yesterday I had a brand new restoration come on board. I also had a moving company come on board and rent 20 containers because they couldn't do this project. Like, things are happening. Things are.
And you'd be surprised also the skills that you already have, how many other fields and how many different things the skills you already have could be applied to.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, and you're like, wait, I already kind of know how to do this stuff. You might need to, learn one
Find
or two
the
other
different
things, but
gatekeeper.
Yeah.
That's really it.
it's
Find the
really
different
find the
gatekeeper.
Yeah. So are we going into our trade show
Sure.
tips? I got some trade show tips for this week. My number one trade show tip is practice your pitch by walking shows.
So this is where I became Eddie Potts, and I'm not even kidding you when I say that I used to go to the Javits Center once a month. This was year 2 on the job, trying to make connections, and I would and it's a 3-hour walk.
Yeah.
You're not getting through the show in under 3 hours if you go. And it was a construction show that I ended up doing a couple of years later, but I walked it. And what I did was I was listening to everyone pitch me. I wanted to see what they were doing. What kind of pitches were effective? What was I hearing that sounded like I should implement this into my pitch?
Yeah.
Walking around and doing it, you got to figure out different ways to do your pitch. This company might need warehouse storage. This company might need shipping across the country. This company might be doing a renovation. So every time someone was giving me their pitch, I'm listening. I'm like, how can I craft my pitch right back
That's
at
a
them?
great idea. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Spending the time doing it consistently.
You know, I usually, when I first started going to so many different shows and being a part, I would just hit the ground running, just pitching. And then as I started getting a little more experience, I started doing a lot more listening, because then you start to realize where you fit in.
Well, I think that's your trade show tip number 2.
Be a good listener. Learn to listen more than you speak.
Paying attention to what somebody says, that you can
because-
recap it later on. It shows them not only that you were listening, but you cared enough to listen.
But also, you want to learn about the industry, because if, let's say, you're talking to somebody and you might not have something in common with what you do. You might have 3 people in your networking group, or somebody where you're like, hey, I have boom, you make that connection, and everybody's happy. The people around you, continue
that's how you
build business development.
That's how you build up business development.
And that's trade show tips. So we have networking tips for the week. We always give you guys some good networking tips. So the value of one-on-ones. What do you got for me, Eddie?
When I started doing one-on-ones, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, today I do at least one every other week. At least one every other week. It's someone that I've met at a networking event that either their business attitude was in line with mine or their industry was in line with mine. One of the two. But what I always find is if you make that initiative to call them, ask them to go to lunch, come break some bread, I've always said this, it just pushes away the business, and then you start learning about people.
Yeah.
They're married, they have kids, they have a sports car.
Find that commonality.
You find the commonalities, and it builds that instant trust that I like this guy or gal. I want to be in their network. And that's really the biggest word to use for it. I want certain people in my network, and I want to help them. And as you know, being a go-giver, I bring people into the network who I think I can help.
Yeah.
May not be today, but just like you and I are planting seeds today, I help other people plant their seeds as well.
Well, that goes into, I like that you said that, because it goes into our second one, which is find a fun crowd. And how you're going to know what the fun crowd is if you don't spend time with these people to know who you want to build your networking groups around. So find a fun crowd. Every networking group you've brought me to is a fun crowd. It's people, whether we're talking about business or whether we're just going to have a drink, it's people that I want to be around. And I feel like that's who you need to build your groups around, not just people where you can only talk business with them. And if you don't have those one-on-ones like you have, you're not going to learn anything personal about these people. You're not going to have any vested interest in whether this person succeeds or not, things like that. And everybody in our groups and anything that we're a part of, everyone cares about each individual that much because they know them personally.
So, I run a group called Networking for Charity. One of the guys in the group, this guy, Rafe Lieber, he's a title guy.
Rafe is awesome.
Great friend of mine. He does these business developing hours, and he did commingle with Berkshire and Hathaway last week at the Paramount. There was 250 people there.
Wow.
250 people, 10 from my group. We only have 30 members of my group.
Yeah.
10 men from the group were there. And not only did we go there and drink and talk and meet new people, we all went out for pizza at Vincent's afterwards.
Nice.
You know, and it was just really nice that these are my boys. This is my team.
Yeah.
If I need Aflac, I got Clem. If I need to sell a house, I got Galuzzo. You know, Cardizano, my clothing guy, he was there. You know, all the guys that you know. But to be part of that group is fun.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's funny because our guest this week, Dawn, is one of the first people who I came around and who was running groups and organizations and things like that, but gave me that feeling of like a homie feeling, like somebody you want to
meet up with.
Yeah, meet
have
up
a drink with.
and have like, hey, you know, like after all said and done, we can have a conversation after, you know, maybe not about this or maybe just about life or something. Like people are just like cookie cutter and it's just, hey, it's about this. Dawn gave me a really good vibe coming into, I think we met at like Angela's house or something. It was one of them. But
So I
awesome.
could remember the first time we did the Triangle together, and it was at the Libby Trade Show. And you and I were walking the show together, and I bumped into Dawn, big hugs, and you just turned around like, hey, I know that girl. And you ran over and got your free hug too, which we always do. But I remember that, and you were like, oh, you know Dawn? I'm like, oh, for years. And you were like, oh, I met her at a networking event. She was so nice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I could see just the way you spoke of her, like, this is a person I want in my network.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if someone needs to get a loan on a house, a renovation, she's the girl I'm gonna go to.
Yeah.
So, what time is it?
I think it's old-fashioned time, and we kind of spoiled it already. We were going to talk about who we're bringing down, but
we can't help that. We can't help that. So we're gonna be right back, and we're gonna do old-fashioned time and bring Dawn Cameron out. We're out. Welcome back, everybody, to episode number 9 of How to Become a Sales Warrior.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
With us in the house today, we have our special guest, Dawn Cameron. She's going to enjoy an old-fashioned with us. Why don't we just jump right into that, loosen up the nerves a little bit.
I'm an old-fashioned kind of girl.
Yeah.
Ty, why don't you tell us, you're the sponsor. Tell us about your company.
I feel like the show doesn't start until we have the old-fashioned. But I am the owner of Magic Junk and Cleaning. We are a junk removal and cleaning company. We move you out, clean you out, anything you need. If it's just your mother, your grandmother who needs a basement cleaned out, or if you guys are relocating local or out of state, we can take care of you. Or if you just need weekly, monthly house cleanings, or if you just want your house cleaned because you're moving out. Any one of those things, you give us a call. I'll send the guys. We do the things that usually nobody wants to do. So that's why we make the money. Call us at 631-615-3853, and you can reach me at themagicjunk.com. Just put in your info, and I'll get back right to you.
And get right back, he does. I have him on speed dial for my clients as well. So tell us about Old Fashioned. Why are we doing this?
So Old Fashioned Time is my favorite segment, as some of our subscribers and our viewers now that I can say that know.
Subscribers.
We met over in Old Fashioned. He was a tequila drinker. All I drink is Old Fashions. We ordered Old Fashions, and it's just our drink of choice. And we like to always bring in a new way of doing business that does work, and an old way. I don't like to say an old-fashioned way. I like to say an old way, even though it's an old-fashioned. An old way of doing business that still works as well, and that kind of describes our relationship. So this week, this is actually pretty personal to me because
I know it is.
When we met, we're talking about invoicing and how the old way is, right? Excel,
Word
documents. And now, obviously, a lot of the new apps that people use, we had Tina here a couple of weeks. She uses HoneyBook. Some people use House Call Pro. Some people use, all these different new apps that make it easy. They set it up for you. You don't have to make spreadsheets. You don't have to do these things anymore. These documents are already created for you. You fill them out. You put in the fields. You send them to your customer. But as we met, I realized I started my business doing stuff like that. And then I met him, and he pulls up a spreadsheet.
What's that?
I was like, what is that? I didn't go to college. Listen, I run a business, and I learned everything on hand, on demand. And we live in a world now where technology all of that basic entry-level stuff that you had to learn in order to do things, it's done for you. So it's like skip to the money making part, you know. But when you need to go back down and you need to track things yourself and you need to just be able to organize things, you always have to go back to an old fashioned spreadsheet, you know. And that's one of the big gems that I got from him. And then doing that, I actually saved myself money by going into these things and saying, hey, I'm actually spending a monthly fee for all of these little apps and stuff that I'm using to do all these invoices and all this stuff for me. I can just do it myself. And you know, lo and behold, now I'm doing all my own stuff.
So I'm gonna give this week's XL tip: freeze pane. And if anyone who doesn't know how to use it, reach out to me. So freeze pane is the opportunity to freeze the top line. So if you scroll past the 25 lines that are on your screen, the top bar that has all your headlines
stays in there.
And thank you, Maria. So Maria showed me how to do it. I have it written down on my corkboard. I remember it every morning. I ran a report this morning, so the first thing, freeze pane. I just find that hilarious that so many people don't know how to do that.
Might save some pain.
Might save some pain.
Yeah, for real.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's our new and old for the week. I'll do one more cheers with you guys.
One more cheers.
Thank you, Dawn, for coming down. Dawn
Cheers.
is
My pleasure.
I love having you because I know you personally, and you've always been so welcoming. And you know, Christina and I, every time you see us, it's always big hugs, and we always feel right at home wherever we're at with you. Whether we end up, you know, doing whatever we're doing at the time or whatever the group is, like you just make us feel right at home.
Well, thank you so much. I think being a mom helps a little bit on that.
Yeah.
She has
My
that
kids-
nurturing effect.
Yeah,
No doubt.
That training for that, but it's easy when you meet people like you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
simple.
Thank you.
So we're gonna go into big wins, best new connection. So every week we've moved this up to do it with the guests so they can interact and tell us what their big win or best new connection is. But I'm gonna go first. We're gonna say Ty for last,
Okay.
and then we're gonna go to Dawn. So T&J Moving Company. I've been chasing them for about 3 months now. It's a moving company that's doing a renovation project, and what started out as a 10 container order is now 20. So I get the call on Monday, hey, I need the invoice. I need it for 3 months, but we're doubling the order. I'm like, okay. So I get the invoice together in seconds. It's in his mailbox. Later on in the day, I got a text from the guy, and he's like, why is it 3 times as much money as the last time we spoke? I said, because this quote had the 90 days that you requested. So it's 3 months. But it was like,
It was good.
okay, that
Alright,
made sense. That makes sense. So that was really awesome. My new is a reconnection. So I went to Rafe's event on Thursday night, and I found out it was Berkshire and Hathaway, and I had sponsored a breakfast for them 2 years ago. I spent $800 at a diner in Jericho with 45 reps from Berkshire and Hathaway, and I met this woman, Nancy. She was nice as hell, only because Rafe knew her. And again, getting that warm introduction, being introduced to somebody, making the most of it, and then coming in like gangbusters and buying everybody breakfast, I made some great inroads in the industry, and I probably closed 7 to 10 deals, not directly from her, but from her office. But there she was at this event the other night, and she looks at me, and I look at her, and she's like, Eddie. I'm like, Nancy. You know, it was like one of those, haven't seen you in a while. And she's like, come meet my protege. So now she has this new young lady who's her protege. She goes, you should definitely get together with her. She's someone you want to connect with. And I was like,
Nice.
that was awesome.
Yeah, you gotta
So
continue when you started.
Thank you again, Rafe. Always getting me introduced to the right people. And I will say this about Rafe. He sent me an email yesterday. Anyone else you want me to do a double follow-up for you? Like, here's the guy throwing the event and then asking me, was there someone else you wanted me to do a one-on-one introduction to? And I'm like, that's a guy.
He takes that networking serious, man. And, you know, he has a plan. He has a strategic plan based around it. He's not just winging it.
So he's having one tomorrow, last minute, something in Garden City, throughout, you know, an impromptu networking lunch. What about you, Dawn? Big win, best new connection?
Let's see. All right. Well, I'm going to start with the best new connection, and I'm going to kind of dovetail on the party, race party, because I was there too.
Oh, so I'm the only one who missed it.
I was there too, and it was quite a surprise because Rafe, you're an awesome guy. He throws these monthly gatherings, and people are always there, and I thought it was one of those. And being where it was, are we allowed to say where it was?
Yeah, sure.
Founders Room in Huntington.
Founders Room.
Go Huntington. I live in the area, so I said, it's great. I'm going to go to that one. And as I walked in, there's hundreds of people around me, and I thought that there was another show going on, and they were all realtors.
Yeah.
Being a mortgage professional, I love being around them. And so with that, it was excellent. I mean, it was just a beautiful place to begin with. I love going there anyway, but it was very, very well done. I was waiting to go in, I looked across the room and I saw this woman that I knew her from somewhere. She looked at me. Her name happens to be Dawn as well. I haven't seen her for 30 years.
Oh.
We worked together 30 years ago. They called us Dawn Squared because we were both loan
Wells Fargo?
officers. No, this was Sears Mortgage.
Oh, my God.
We're talking a long time ago.
Wow.
I've been around a long time.
35 years.
Yeah, at least. And but the best part about it was that she's no longer a loan officer, which is good for me. But she works for New York Life and she's a financial advisor.
Oh, wow.
Which is one of my biggest referral sources as well. And I love
Wow.
working with financial
Yeah,
advisors.
yeah.
And we just couldn't, we've been in touch every single day since that event.
Yeah.
So we're going to do some business together as
Oh,
well
absolutely.
and that kind of thing. And I've got a certain kind of loan that financial advisors just love and to explain it to their clients and that kind of thing. So that's my biggest new connection. It was old connection.
I want to give Rafe a shout out. He created a new company, and he has 2 full-time employees now. These ladies were there, and they were really selling his business. And it was so unique, having known him as Carolyn
Yeah.
and Ashley.
I didn't meet Ashley.
Ashley was wonderful as well, but it was so unique because he's always been a one-man gang doing his promoting, and then it was nice that he's grown. New company, has these 2 full-time women from his past that are in helping him, like really happy for him, so it was really awesome to get to meet them.
Rafe and I just closed one of my loans the day before too.
Oh,
So the timing
sweet.
was
Look at that.
great.
Look at that.
We cheersed as well, and
Rafe
and
will
it
be
was-
here. He will be here.
needs
We'll
to
have
be
him
here.
down, right?
We'll have
We'll have him down.
You know what's funny? So you know Evans. Evans, one of Rafe's friend, African-American guy, works for Keller Williams.
Yes.
TikToks. Good friend of mine. Love the guy. We see each other at all these events. And he posts on Facebook and he says, "What was the best thing that happened to you in the business world this week?" I hit him back, seeing you at Rafe's event. Blew him away, man. Blew him away. He was like, "Oh, man,
yeah.
come on my podcast." That was his next word.
Yeah.
Come on my podcast.
Real.
I'm like, all right. So, Ty, you're up. Best new sale, best new connection.
Best new sale was actually through you. You threw me a layup that I went and knocked out of the park for Pratt Institute. A couple of days ago, they called in a fire, which is like most people do when they need stuff moved around, and they needed a immediate service. The next day, I stopped everything, drove out to the college, parked on campus, walked around, did the whole thing, came up with a project plan, and was there the next day with a team of 5, did everything they needed, got done early, and got onto their vendors list as they have one number one mover, but the gentleman who's taken over is like, "I like you guys, and I'm gonna keep you on the top of the of the list now when we need anything." And
It only takes one meeting with you to put you at the top of that.
Yeah,
list.
exactly. And they got 20 containers or something coming right in May. So
And
now that
my-
I'm already on the vendors list, you can kind of be like, "Hey,
It's kind of
Ty."
ironic that you say that, but my senior VP Chin, my new director of sales Scott, Charlie, my boss Jamil, and the operations senior VP for the area, we're all going to Pratt on Wednesday. Do a little,
So you're gonna see the
gonna
pod. You're gonna see the
we're
work.
gonna go
Yeah.
see your pods, and it's kind of neat that we're mimicking, because right after that meeting, I go to the city and have a meeting. I'm bringing the whole troop with me. We're going to the Times Square Association, which is another large customer of mine that he's going to be servicing in the end of May, beginning of June. So it's just so ironic that these 2 companies that I need him to give him business for are happening at the same time, and I'm bringing my bosses to both of the companies. So
I just want to
small.
say a quick joke because of the fact that you keep calling them the Times Square Association, and I wrote that on the quote.
Times Square Alliance.
They're the Times Square Alliance.
Alliance.
And he says association every time. I'm writing up their invoice, and I'm like, Times Square Association.
They're
and
like,
I'm
"Oh,
looking-
we don't have to pay."
So they used to be the Times Square Association, and then it became the Alliance.
The Alliance.
And I'm a little slow. Yeah, you got me on that.
We didn't even speak about that, but I did it the
That's
other day.
funny.
I was like, oh, man.
That is good.
So, yeah. And best, I could say, not best new connection, it's the old connection. Eddie and I have kind of taken what we have been doing, like Cowboys, and just doing our own business, and him referring me to his clients. And we kind of came up with a nice formula on how these things work. And it's kind of separate from what I'm already doing as far as the junk removal stuff. And like, I kind of want to take a little bit focus off of that and kind of go into this moving space a little more head on. So we're starting a new company. and the name of the company is Pack Pros. We have our logo. We've had a couple of meetings. We have our partners. We're getting ready to launch pretty soon.
And
Congratulations.
the best part about our partnership, aside from us being together, is we brought in one of the co-hosts of episode number 4,
Yep,
Chris Looney, our good friend.
Yeah, he's going to be doing all our marketing, all our SEO.
SEO marketing. We're going to rook him into helping us with this podcast to promote it a little more too.
Yeah.
But we figure,
This episode.
of course. Well, you know this, Dawn, because you do a lot of good social media stuff. If you have to pay for it all, it's going to cost you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So our thought was, why don't we just make that person a partner?
Yeah.
Let them put all and it's almost in the back of my mind, show us. You're the best. You're amazing. Let's blow it up. Let's make some money.
Mm-hmm.
You get some, I get some, you get some. How's that sound? He was all in. And we're just as excited because it's the one thing, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. He don't want to do it. We don't have time for this stuff. But we need someone who knows what the hell
And
they're
obviously
doing.
loves doing it. So it's
Exactly.
going to be done
Love-
well if it's something you love to do.
And he's
you're gonna
monetized.
do it well.
The more wins, the more money. It's really that simple. And for both of us, we're like, this is a guy we want to partner with. And he did save your butt, man. He did save your butt. He was able to come in here and co-host a show that Ty didn't make, and we rocked it. We rocked it. And he was really excited. He was not expecting that. So you're okay. We're just interviewing you today. We're good.
Put me on the wait list for, either one of you guys. I'm totally fine with that.
All right. So we have Dawn, mother of 2.
Yes. Proud mother.
And Matthew is pre-med. That's new to me. You sent that over to me today.
Yeah.
When did he decide he wanted to go pre-med?
He about a year after his first year of music.
I knew that was his passion.
He went in for music therapy, and after that 1 year was done, he said he wants to go. It touched a little bit on medicine, and he decided I'm going straight for medicine. So he changed his major entirely, and he's graduating with a 4.0 from Temple University next Wednesday, and off to medical school after that.
And he's doing the medical school at Temple?
No, we're not sure where yet because he's going to take the year off to do his MCATs, study for his MCATs.
Gotta do that.
Pick where he's going to go. He's going to be an EMT for that year and
sweet.
get some.
Is he already set up?
He's all certified and ready to go.
Which unit? Huntington?
Well,
or-
he's certified. No, he's going to stay in Philly
Okay.
and probably for the city of Philadelphia or maybe Temple University Hospital.
Oh, cool.
Possibly, and
Nice.
he can go anywhere. When he comes home, he can volunteer at the Huntington First Aid Squad. He can volunteer at Green Lawn Fire Department, so he's set up for them whenever he wants to come home for a weekend or here and there.
Yeah.
Help
That's
out, be
volunteer.
part of the
Yeah,
team.
yeah,
In Philly, though, he needs to get paid because he's
Yeah.
still living there. He still has rent. He still
I'm
has
still
food.
paying bills.
And if you're not in school, I'm not going to pay the rent. So you gotta get that. But and then he's off, and he's going to be some kind of surgeon. We'll see. So hopefully a plastic surgeon.
You're good.
So I have a question. I know you were saying, like you just said, you met your friend that you worked at Sears Mortgage with,
Sears
right?
Mortgage.
Did you think back when you were working at Sears Mortgage, you would still be doing this 30 years later, like you said?
35. I know it because
years
she
later?
said 88 in her bio, and that's when my daughter was born.
It's
the only reason why I
actually
know.
a little more than that, but I stopped counting at 35 years. So I didn't really give it much thought. I started answering the phones. That's, and I had no idea I didn't know how to spell mortgage when I was answering the phones.
Yeah.
And 6 weeks later, they closed us down. There was a hostile takeover. It was during this very volatile time in the market and things like that. Interest rates were 13%. And then I followed my manager, went to the next company, and I was the office manager at that point. 6 weeks later, I was a loan opener. And about a year later, I was running a closing department for Sears Mortgage. Did that for about 3 years. Then I became a loan officer assistant, saw what they were doing, and I was doing all the work for them. And I said, that's what I want to do. And I didn't know how long it was going to be. I guess I assumed, because once I'm in something, I stay in it. I'm pretty loyal, and I usually stay with what I decide to do. I make a decision and I stick with it.
I'm 34. Are we talking about Sears? Like actual Sears?
Yeah.
It was
Had their-
it was Sears store, Discover, Bank, and credit card. Before the credit card, Caldwell Banker and Sears Mortgage, and it was one big giant conglomerate.
I just wanted to make
And
sure.
we were all tied in together. There was a company that I worked for even before that, it was called ICA, and we were part of the Ford family, Ford
Oh,
Motor Company.
yeah.
So I bought I got an employee discount
Wow.
on my first brand new car,
First,
which was kind of cool.
nice.
So
Long time ago.
in reading through your bio and knowing you the way I do know you, and we'll get to that in a minute, there's always this common theme with you. And I know the answer, but I want you to share with
Be nice.
keep the homeowners happy.
Yes.
Why? Why is it so important to keep the homeowners happy?
It just, one, I can sleep well at night, knowing I did the right thing. And two, referrals. I mean, they're just going to refer you. I'm on second generations of clients.
Nice.
I just closed someone the day before with Rafe's company. He was my title guy. And I closed that client that was the sixth loan that I did for that family.
Wow.
The mom and dad at that time, but they've since referred their children. I have old clients referring their kids now to me, their grandkids in some cases.
Oh, that's dating
yeah,
yourself.
I know. I have to take down people's date of births when I'm taking their application information, and when they start going in the 2000s, it's kind of like, okay, now I'm really old. But I mean, it's just the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It keeps referrals coming, and it just enhances your reputation and keeps it intact.
So we've had a couple of guests, and Libby and Nary come up, it seems like almost every episode.
Mm-hmm.
But you were the president of Nary?
I was president of NARI in 2010 and 11. I was
Wow.
actually the fourth and final female in 65 years.
Really?
That presided
How was that?
over.
Like, just
It was
that
awesome.
responsibility
I mean,
and all
I became a member of NARI in 2000 for networking purposes. I was doing a lot of renovation financing. It was kind of new out there. There was no women doing it at all. So I said, well, how hard can it be? If
Yeah.
guys are doing it, how hard can it be?
yeah.
And so I became pretty proficient in it, and I just decided to really promote that. And somebody introduced me to NARI, which is the National Association of the Remodeling Industry, for those of you who don't know. And it's a non-for-profit organization of remodelers that do a lot of community service. They use each other, a lot of education, that kind of thing. And I remember the first meeting I was going to as a guest, the person who invited me, his name was Frank, he wasn't able to be there. There were 5 people there waiting for me because Frank wasn't there to greet me. So I had 5 people just brought me in, and free hugs from everybody as well.
Can you spit out a name that I know?
Napolitano.
Okay, got it.
And he was a closet guy back then, and I don't know what he's doing now. But it was awesome, and I just got very, very involved. Like I said, when I start something, I really jump into it. I get involved, and I work my way up the ladder to president.
So for me, I met Dawn back in 2011 when I started at Pods, and like Dawn, I can remember the first night. I might have mentioned this last week, but Bob Didier was Mr. President at the time, and I remember saddling up to the bar, and we were at the 56th Fighter Squadron.
Great place.
And there was 200 people there, and there were council members speaking, and there were all these people speaking.
Yeah.
And I'm standing next to the president, not knowing he was the president, and we start chit-chatting. I'm like, hey, let's go outside and have a cigarette. Yeah, okay, let's go. Like 5 minutes later, he's up on stage, running the show. And I was like, well, that's a good first
It was
impression.
a family. We were such a family. It was great. I had like 300 additional big brothers.
No doubt,
And it
no
was
doubt.
great.
It's on you, actually, brother.
No, this is the one about, and again, knowing that it's a male-dominated industry. Did you feel pushback from men just because you were a woman when you were president?
In some cases, yes. Did it bother me? No.
You didn't give a shit.
I welcomed the pushback because I found it as a challenge. I had so many people supporting me and just like cheering me on, and I knew what I was talking about and I knew what I was doing. I wouldn't have gotten there without it. So it was kind of like, bring it on.
I've seen you take charge. I don't think anybody is going to...
In a nice way. In a very nice way.
But, and when you know what you're talking about and then you have such good energy too.
Well, if you know what you're talking about and you believe in what you're talking about or selling, it's never a problem. You don't need a speech. You don't really need to be prepared. It just comes out very naturally, and I think very passionate and genuine.
So, tell me about the Cub Scouts.
Oh gosh, Cub Scouts. Yeah,
You were a leader for
10 years. 10 years. Well, 2 boys.
Sounds like
and
Coach Eddie.
That's like pre-Boy Scouts, right?
That's before the Boy Scouts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
like brownies and Girl Scouts.
Yeah,
I was that
yeah.
too, but that was myself.
Okay.
I have 2 boys, and they decided that I decided that they should start in the Cub Scouts. They're about 4 years apart. So Mark, my older son, went in. Matthew was still a little bit too young, but he was the mascot. He was there all the time. They were with me everywhere. And I just started and I became the leader. I jumped in again with both feet, dove all the way in, and I just got all the way in. And, I grew up with 3 older brothers. So, being outside and bugs and things never really bothered me.
Yeah.
So we did the trips, we did camping, we did all this, and just the more I got involved, the more trips I was on, and then they aged into Boy Scouts, and I became a leader and went through all the trainings and did the camp outs and the kayaking trips and all that kind of stuff, and it was great. Yeah. And I have to say, the Boy Scouts of America is probably one of the best organizations in the world, not just this country, and they've got it together, and they really do shape these boys. And, my kids weren't in it to make Eagle Scout. They didn't want to do that. Some kids do. Mine wanted to go on the trips, and I want to go on the trips. So we did it together, and it was 10 years that I would never, ever, never regret. I'm glad it's over, because it was a lot of work. And as they get older, they go do more things, and then they decided to. One aged out, and one said, "If you're not in it, I'm not in it," because they're kind of close.
So my son's 6. I'm starting to realize, you want them to do all of these things, but when you sign them up, you don't realize how much work comes with all of these things that they have to do, and you're like, "Whoa!"
The dinners.
I was Coach Eddie for 20 years because I have kids that are 20 years apart, and I coached all 5 of my kids in every sport that they wanted me to, and being Coach Eddie for 15 years, and all of a sudden. You're not anymore. You have your own time back. You have your own weekends back. You're not sitting in the stands freezing your ass off in an April game. So I totally.
But for them, you do it. I mean, it's just fun. It gives you a chance to be a kid again. And one thing I didn't mention also with them, I was their Sunday school teacher for 12 years.
So was I. Marie.
Nobody believes
10
that.
years.
Yeah, I did 12 years.
And I was the Jewish guy. Yeah. The Jewish guy teaching
All right,
religion.
Jesus was a Jew too.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was. What church was yours?
Green Lawn Presbyterian. Still my church.
You still go there?
Did you know?
Still there.
Nice.
Pat.
Yes.
Pat.
Yes. Parada. Yes, I did. I still do. I haven't seen him in a long time.
He's
Still
in
friends
the
with
book.
his wife.
He's in the book.
Is he?
He's in the episode about starting a deli in a gas station.
That
is about
here.
Pat
He had
Parada.
several of them at one time.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
That's where you bought it from?
No, he brought me in to run it.
Oh, okay.
Create it.
Parada.
Yeah.
Gotta read that chapter.
Their kids and my kids are very close.
And Christopher
very
and
good
my
friends.
oldest daughter grew up together at the church. We were in the Northport Church, the United Methodist Church, and then there was a falling out, and he ended up going to the Green Lawn Presbyterian. Small frickin' world.
Yeah.
Wow. So, as a referral partner, I know you well. I see you out at trade shows. I see you at networking events. I see you at your own apple pie events. One of the things that I appreciate about you, the uniqueness, that you're always trying to leave a great leave behind. That you always try to find something that nobody else has, from seeds in a packet.
What'd you give? You gave me like a flower. It was like a cup, almost with a flower thing, but the top was your card. It was like your card was bent nicely at the top of this little flower
That's
thing.
about this time of year I do that. They're forget-me-not seeds. I've been doing that for over 30 years too, and some of the things get repeated. It's just kind of corny little things, but people go, what does she have now? What does she have now?
Yeah,
And
we look forward to it.
And it's the one, like you said, you always thought of me as the renovation girl, the reno money lady, and it's just a nice way to be.
We love it. We appreciate it. And when I come home, I always say, anything from Dawn?
Yeah.
What'd you bring home this time?
Today you'll get a big hug.
All right. Fair enough.
This is probably what I wanted to know the most, because I asked Eddie, I was like, what is this? He's like, let her tell you about it. Can you tell us about Lasagna Love?
Oh, Lasagna Love. Okay. So Lasagna Love is great. I encourage anybody to go on it, and it just really, it's very, very rewarding. It's a charity. It's fairly new. It's been around about maybe 5 or 8 years. I stumbled across it just going through Facebook, being bored one day and scrolling through, and I looked into it. You sign up, and they'll match you based on your area where you live. They'll match you with as many families as often as you want. So I take 3 families once a month.
And what do you do?
And I make a lasagna and I deliver it to them.
I was like, where's the lasagna?
I make a lasagna and I deliver it to them. So they match you up. You get to know them a little bit. You find out if there's any allergies, any food restrictions, anything like that. They're usually either living in a shelter or they've got some kind of money problem or something like that. So the first one I delivered, it was in Huntington Station. It was nice and close. The woman was blind, and she was waiting at the bottom of the stairs for me, and because you make a time that you're going to deliver it,
Right.
and I got there and I said, can I bring it upstairs for you? And she said, yeah. She gives me a big hug. God bless you. She texted me afterwards that it was wonderful.
Best lasagna
Now, I
she
love to
ever
cook,
had.
but I'm, no chef. But it was, she just said, thank you so much. There's a couple of odd ones out there as well. But then I brought one out to some woman in Quorum. She comes out to meet me, and 7 little heads popped up in the window. So she had 7 kids to
jeez.
feed.
They were hungry.
So,
Yeah,
and they were hungry. And it just leaves a really nice taste.
So-
And you make an extra one, you throw it in the freezer for
This is something,
somebody else.
This is something you found, or this is something you're a part of as far as like you
I
started?
signed up to it. I stumbled
signed up.
across to it, and I joined them.
And you joined them.
I joined
Okay.
them. So I am a lasagna love chef.
So how
as
often
they
do you
say.
do it?
Once a month, 3 families. And they match you to 3 different families every single month. And sometimes they'll ask if anybody can do an extra.
You want to give a shout out to the website right now?
It's just lasagnalove.com.
That's it.
Right on there,
LasagnaLove.com. You can sign up. You can help
lasagналove.com.
families.
Yeah.
If you want to promote them a little more, come bring us some lasagna. Maybe we'll put their logo
Next
up
episode,
there.
promise.
Maria, you're going to be
Just
making some
made one.
lasagna.
I just made one yesterday.
Maria. My wife makes awesome lasagna.
Yeah.
I'm the only one in the family that likes meat. And for me,
Oh, you got to
she
put the
does
fresh
meat.
basil and the sausage in there.
It's the good
Yeah.
stuff.
Delicious.
So, as a woman of industry that I know you have a couple of different certifications and licenses. Why don't you tell us what they are?
Well, I'm a licensed mortgage banker in New York and Florida. I can lend in every state through my company. I'm also recently a commercial mortgage broker as well. So I'm dipping my toe in the commercial world a little bit as well, which is very, very exciting. And that's some of the great new contacts that I've made as well. Could pivot back to that. With NARI, I became a certified remodeling associate, which was 26 weeks of study, an 8-hour
Wow.
federal test.
Oh, yeah, it was real McCoy.
Just like the contractors have to take. Mine was a little bit lighter because I'm not swinging hammers.
Yeah.
But I had to know almost everything that they did. I know how big a board is on the roof and how a stack is built.
All the
and,
codes and all the
well,
different
they
things, right?
change a lot,
They change,
but yeah,
yeah.
maybe
She knows all the
current ones-
slang.
all the
yeah.
slang.
She knows
for
the
it,
slang.
'cause, I work with a lot of contractors. I
Yeah.
do renovation financing and builders, so I need to speak their language and I have to
Yeah.
understand, what they're going through and their insurances and things like that. Because sometimes I have to explain it to my client when they say, well, why is it so expensive? It's really not. They're being protected and being custom built as well.
Yeah.
So.
And you're a notary.
Oh, and I'm a notary.
Can't forget the
yes.
notary. I used to be one too.
I'm also
I
a
was.
deacon at the church.
Ooh.
And, there's a couple of things.
So I heard you mention Florida. You're licensed down there.
Yep.
You see yourself going there to do work, explore work?
I would be happy if somebody wants to bring me in for one of their sales meetings, a real estate office. I'd be down there in a second. But I deal mostly in New York. I keep myself in New York, but
Yeah.
I can lend. Everything is done a lot online. So a
Yeah.
lot of second homes, maybe people moving from New York, snowbirds, things like that, investment properties.
So
Never a
my
problem.
buddy's Gold Clank, Dave.
Of course.
So he was just
He was at the party too.
Yes, he was. He was at my after party at Vincent's. But he recently got licensed down in Florida, and he actually started going down once a month now to make connections with realtors and do networking down there. And for him, it's a big pivot because that was never him. He worked for Wells for many
Right.
years, changed it up, went to Citizens, and all of a sudden he's
We worked together at Wells.
yeah. So it's kind of like I keep hearing the New York Florida connection. So I just wonder if there's
Well,
are you trying
probably
to build it?
3/4 of Floridians came from New York, so
That's true.
it's my best friend being one of them. So, yeah, and I ask my friends down there, share my posts, and I get a couple of calls here and there. But I do get calls from real estate agents up here because a lot of realtors work New York and Florida as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I have a business, and then I'll share this with you. And if it's any connection, maybe it will be. So my business insurance guy, Bill Sonner, he's from my networking group. He is in constant pursuit of buying a insurance company down in Florida to have that 2 offices, 2 states kind of thing. Is a business insurance guy someone you could latch onto
Sure.
to
Absolutely.
possibly introduce and meet with?
Yeah, homeowners, insurance companies that provide homeowners insurance or renters insurance, especially. I love to do first-time homebuyer seminars for renters, and if we can do it together, get their list of renters, turn them into homeowners. it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah,
Myself, the new homeowner,
Sure.
and the insurance guy as well. So there's always a team effort to make the American dream come true.
So where's your industry heading?
Ooh, that's a very good question. If you asked me that about 4 months ago, I would have said, well, rates are going to be coming down in the summer, and in the fall, we're going to be dropping.
Guess what?
Guess what?
Not happening.
Not happening. There's a lot of upset going on, and you're just kind of looking at it day by day right now. I think as a whole, 2025 is going to be a fantastic year.
Keep hearing that. I do. I keep hearing that.
I really believe
Am I going to buy
it.
my first home in 2025?
Yes,
Very
you are,
possible.
and you're going to come to me, and we're going to get you started today on that, and get you started getting prepared.
I got too much on my plate. I want to keep renting and leave someone else with the headache for now.
We've got programs to help you save for your down payment and your closing costs too.
You
It's called
would-
Home Funded.
But he
It's a
would be
great-
in the market, his first house, to be a mother-daughter. So you have that extra rental
Yeah,
income, whether
yeah,
it's your
yeah.
family, your
Yeah,
sister.
totally fine.
Yeah.
We can. I'm
That's
sure.
the way for you. That's how I started.
Yeah.
And back in 1983 when I bought my first house, we bought a mother-daughter,
Oh, yeah.
and that actually $250 rent. Made all the
That was
difference.
that was the rent?
No, that was what I charged them for the rental up there. My mortgage.
Yes, I'm
was-
saying.
Yeah, my mortgage was only $1,200.
Yeah.
And that was at 9%.
Yeah.
9.9%. And I slept out overnight to get a Sony Mae mortgage because the rates were 18%.
It's almost like we have to pay for being born in 1990. Why couldn't I buy a house
Yeah,
for
the
12
'60s were a pretty
grand?
good time to be born. I have to say,
Yes.
I wouldn't.
What'd you
give
buy
it up
your
for
first
anything.
house for?
1984, $64,000.
He bought his first house for 60 grand.
Yeah.
So,
Crazy.
is it going to get better? Is the Fed going to lower the rates?
Well, they're talking. They're saying maybe 2 more by the end of the year, 2 more cuts. Now you got to understand too, when the Fed cuts the rate, they're cutting the prime rate. Prime right now is at 8.5%. That's not where mortgage rates are.
Right.
Mortgage rates are around between 7.5, depending on
Which is
credit
still a
score.
lot.
Which is still a lot, but it's not 13 when I
no,
came
but
into
it's
business.
5 points higher than I'm paying. Sorry.
But it depends. We were hoping to come down even further and even more cuts, but it's
That's not the answer.
I don't
cuts
have an
aren't
answer.
The cuts aren't. No, I didn't mean you. I meant the
Yeah.
cuts aren't the real answer.
It's not.
to the mortgage rate.
It's who's going to be after the election
Correct.
is going to do, and I won't bring that up.
No.
And that's going to have a big impact on what's going to happen. But the buzz is when they do come down, knocking on wood, we're probably going to be settling in the 5s.
Right.
Mid-5 range,
Wow.
Which isn't
I
terrible.
think is very, very good. And especially if
Yeah.
you're getting used to 7, you go to 5.
Yeah.
and you're like,
Hallelujah!
cheers to that,
Yeah.
right?
Cheers to that.
And,
Absolutely.
so that's probably where it's gonna be.
Okay.
But
So
yeah, there's a lot of programs to help though with down payment and closing costs, and there's a lot of stuff out there for the
Yeah.
qualified person.
you and I are in that same age category. We've been around for a long time in the industry. I know for myself, there's only a few moves left in my career, whatever they may be, whether it's this, pods, whatever it is. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Doing this, absolutely. Maybe dumping into commercial a little bit more. I'm liking it. I've only been in about a month. But I've got some great teammates behind me giving me leads. I'm talking to people. It's really not that hard. And just having 2 baskets with eggs in it instead of all in one.
Nice.
But in the next 5 years, yeah, I see myself still doing this and hopefully as busy as I possibly can be.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
see an end
awesome.
to it just yet. And this is the kind of job, if I do want to just, kind of turn it down a little bit and wind down a little bit, you can still
You can do
still
that,
do
yeah.
it. You're not going to make as much
So
money.
you're gonna
you know.
sail off right into the sunset. What you're doing right
I'm
there.
on the boat in the sunset working anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
If you follow Dawn's Facebook story from late July to September.
No, we've already started. So
No, but she does it. You've done a 3-week journey around Long Island.
yeah.
I
we do
followed
that.
your
and I'm
posts.
working the whole time. We've got Wi-Fi,
Yeah.
so there's no.
Yeah,
I'm accessible,
working,
and
yeah.
I'm in Long Island. If you need me to get there, I'll get there.
So get there by boat.
I'll get there.
So we're coming to the end of the podcast. We want you now to take the opportunity to brag about your company, give us some callback numbers, some email addresses, how we can reach you.
Oh, well, I'm a little shy, but okay. CMG Home Loans. We are based in California, and CMG stands for Christopher Matthew George. He's the owner of our company, who is the most brilliant man I've ever met in the world. He's got some loan programs that we are the only ones that have in the whole country.
Wow.
We have an all-in-one loan, which is allinOneloan.com. If anybody's interested in that, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to me. We have, as I mentioned earlier, we have a crowdfunding platform for down payment and closing costs called Home Funded, where people can gift you money from all over the world, $10 at a time, $5,000 at a time. We will hold it and we use it for your down payment and closing costs. Or you use it for your down payment
Yeah.
and
And how do
closing
we
costs.
reach you, Dawn?
You reach me at 631-860-4845.
Email address?
dcameron@cmghomeloans.com.
Website?
That's a little bit longer. It's cmgfi/mysite/Dawn-Cameron.
Holy shit, that's a lot.
I told you.
Ty, why don't you give us your closing?
I'll make sure I put it in the description for the episode.
Thanks.
There you
Make
go.
sure you send me that stuff
I
again.
definitely will.
Yeah, that's themagicjunk.com and 631-615-3853. You guys already know what I do if you've been watching, but we are the junk removal moving company who will get you all set up, moved out, cleaned out. The house will be spick and span and smelling like, what's the stuff? Lemon Pledge.
Lemon Pledge. And what else do you do, Ty? What do you do for me? What do you pack?
Oh yeah, I do. Yes. You know, I'm not even used to putting the pack. I pack and load pods for this
Every day
for
of the
this
week.
gentleman right. Yeah, every day.
of the
Literally,
week.
I'm packing and loading pods. If most of the people who follow my Instagram, they see me. I'm taking pictures all the time. I'm always around pods. People think I work for pods. Literally, they're
It's not a
like,
bad thing.
they're like, yo, ever since you've been working with working for pods, I'm like, I don't work for pods. I work with pods, but I'm always posting pods, and I'm also always pitching pods too, because I got a lot of people who are moving and doing things, and you know, I'm like, hey, listen, when you're ready to go, let me know. I'll get the pod, I'll load you up and get you out of here.
Awesome.
I am Eddie Potts. This is my book, How to Become a Sales Warrior. I want you to go to Amazon and buy it. You can download the Audible or the book. They'll deliver it. They'll print it for you and deliver it to you under $20. It's where we get all our great information for this podcast, which How to Become a Sales Warrior. If you're interested in hiring me, come in, check in with your sales team, see what I can do to help them grow and hit their sales numbers. You can reach me at eddie@becomeasaleswarrior.com or www.becomeasaleswarrior.com. And we have a YouTube channel, Ty?
YouTube channel at How to Become a Sales Warrior. And also, well, if you're watching this, you're probably already on our YouTube, but we have a Facebook page coming up soon, and we will be live on Spotify, iHeart, and all of those things as well, but it will only be the audio. The video will only be on YouTube, but if you're in a car and you want to just happen to listen to us, you'll be able to listen to us on all the other platforms very shortly.
Until episode number 10, everybody, have a great week and enjoy.